All right, welcome back to the Family and Fitness podcast. I am so excited for our next guest. Her name is Tanya Valentine. She is a married mom of three kids, age 7 and under. Wow, living in Indiana. She is a life coach and is currently creating a time management course geared towards moms. Welcome, Tanya. I'm so happy we were able to connect via Facebook. So, welcome to the
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. All right. So, what I want you to do for all of our listeners is to just introduce yourself, talk about your family, passions, anything like that.
Okay, yeah. I'm Tanya Valentine, and I am a mom of three, just like Ashley said. I have a daughter, Lucia, who's 7, and my son, Rocco, is 5. And then my youngest, Serena, is 2. And I've been married to my husband, Chris, for a little over 10 years, but we've actually been together for a little over 18 years. And what's funny is we actually met in Cancun on
Oh my
spring
gosh.
break that many years ago, and we've been together ever since. But yeah, I'm originally from Boston. And yes, I live in Northwest Indiana now. And I call myself multi-passionate because I've worn a lot of hats. I started out as a hairstylist and then I became a nurse. And I was a nurse for about 10 years. And now I am a life coach and a podcast host. And how I got here is back in 2021, I actually experienced a very traumatic miscarriage where I almost lost my life. It was absolutely horrifying. And I needed to be hospitalized, and I received 2 blood transfusions and had surgery. And my biggest fear was leaving my children behind. Lucia and Rocco. At the time, I only had 2 kids, and they were 3 and 1. Um, so when I came out of that, that experience just completely shifted my perspective on life. And it just woke me up to what truly matters, which for me is my family, my time, and just how I want to contribute to the world. So I started diving into personal growth and development, and I was getting therapy and just listening to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks and praying and just wondering, like, what's my purpose?
Hmm.
Like, what is
Right.
this all about? You know? So that search led me to life coaching, and I just fell in love with it, and it changed my life so much so that I ended up enrolling in coach certification. And it's funny how life works because literally the day before class started, I found out I was pregnant with Serena. And it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, had I known I was pregnant, I never would have invested the money. I never would have
Right.
done it.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I already committed, and in my soul I really do believe it was what was meant to be. So now I help moms manage their minds so that they can feel less stressed and overwhelmed and get more done and just make time for what truly matters.
That is truly an amazing story because I know that you and I have spoke before, and I just find it so just interesting in a way that, I only have one kid, you have three, but we've been married the same amount of time. We both
Oh,
met our
cool.
husbands. Yeah, it'll be our 11-year anniversary in August.
Oh, same. Yeah, we'll be 11 years in July.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. But it's like we
Yeah.
met them. Well, I didn't go out of the country to meet my husband. We met at Ohio State. So we stayed within the US, but still, and then just um how you started off, you said hairstylist, then nurse, and a life event really changed your perspective. And, with me, when I started off, I was all about, in a way, climbing up the corporate ladder, worked in the food industry and food manufacturing, worked my way up with 2 big companies at Smucker's and Kraft Heinz. And then it seems like with each life experience, I made a change
Mm,
because it wasn't what the company could provide to me for that work-life balance. So I left
yeah.
Smucker's mainly because gosh, I think that was like 2.5 hours away. And when you get
Oh
married to
my
someone who
God.
has a family farm, you move to the family farm. You can't uproot 100-year-old farm.
No.
So between that and then when I got into manufacturing in as a quality supervisor, there is no work-life balance. I really don't care what people say, if it's big or small. It's very hard to find a work-life balance. And then that's when I got pregnant. So 6 months into getting pregnant, my manager retires. I get in a new manager, and I all of a sudden find myself working 12-hour days on the weekend, switching to a different shift, sometimes 14-hour days, 4 hour sanitation because I'm quality. And I'm like, I can't live like this. My blood pressure was coming. And that's when I was 7, going on even eight months pregnant. I'm like, this is not healthy. If this is what life is like now, that's what life will be like when I have the baby.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
another shift. Then I shifted and I told myself, I'm going to give it one more time working in the food industry. And if it does not balance with my life, I'm not doing it anymore. So I went to a smaller company, didn't have to work weekends, went up to a quality manager position. And then all of a sudden, I'm given a plant that I now have to manage my second one that is over 2 hours away. And I have to go out there 2 times during the week with a baby that's a few months old at the start of COVID.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean, it's so, and so I left that. I said, I'm done with the food industry after 3 years, and I don't manage people anymore, or anything like that. But it's just so interesting how you said that um, after your daughter or after your miscarriage in 2021, which yes, I can't even imagine. That's partly why, another reason why my husband and I kind of decided not to have another kid was because mentally, I don't think I'm strong enough for that. I didn't have any major issues with Chase. I didn't have gestational diabetes. I just was working a job that was very stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so interesting how different life experiences and where they can lead you. And being
Mm.
able to get out of the food industry, not manage people, allowed me to expand my fitness business more to social media and also then start a podcast because my brain now has these empty holes where it needs something to fill it. So
Yeah.
again, like your passion, where is your passion taking you? Like your passion with what you went through, then you're like going into the life coaching. So I find your story just so interesting and just inspirational to people that use a experience that maybe looked grim at the time. You made
Mm.
it through it, you learned, what can I do to help other people? So thank you just
Exactly.
again, thank you so much for just coming on here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really do believe in that. Like these trials that we go through and just tragedies, like anything. And that is like my mission with my podcast too, is, I've had women on, like I've had my best friend who actually, she had breast cancer and she
Mm,
survived it. But it's just like, and I have another friend who also, so she had a traumatic birth event, thank God, like in the end, like she's okay and her son was
right.
okay. But she almost died because the
Ugh.
doctor accidentally like nicked her uterine artery and
Oh
she lost
goodness.
so much blood, like she almost died. But anyway, yeah, so it's just like bringing these stories out into the open and just saying, hey,
Mhm,
like I survived, like, and this happened, like, instead of getting stuck in that self-pity and like, why did this happen to me? Like,
mhm.
I am a person of faith and I believe that God turn like all of these things, all of these quote unquote bad things that happen. Um, that he is a way of turning it into beauty and making good of
Yes,
it. So,
that's
yeah.
perfectly said. Because you talked about your podcast for everybody, what is your podcast called?
Yeah, it's called the Momentum Podcast and it's available
Awesome.
on really any podcast platform.
Perfect, perfect. Because I don't want, everyone has their story for when people listen to this to have an outlook for them to tell their story. So, like anybody, if you want to tell your story, you can certainly come onto mine. you can certainly head over to Tanya's. You'll reach out to her on Facebook or anything. She'll explain where you can find her at the end. But, our podcasts are designed for people to tell their stories.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's perfect. Okay, so let's go into you talked a little bit about the life coach and you kind of almost led into it regards into like the certification because I was actually kind of curious. So explain what it is to be a life coach and what is your day-to-day life like?
Yeah, so I would say mainly first I am mom. Like I am mom, I would say 95% of the time is my day-to-day life right now. And it really does change with the season that my family is in. Um, and actually we are currently in a transition period because as I was telling you before we hit record, my son had just graduated pre-K, so things are going to change a little bit. But right now I work only about 9 hours a week, and I had to really like figure that out. But it's mainly on Thursdays that I work, and that's when I do all my coaching calls and podcast recordings. My oldest is in school full time, and when my son Rocco was in pre-K, he'd go 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
Right.
and just in the mornings, like it's 2.5 hours long,
Hmm.
and go to school at the Y, which is a half an hour from where we live. And then I also have my 2-year-old too. So the great thing about going to the Y, and this is one of the reasons why I signed them up to go to preschool there, is like I can have it because it doesn't make any sense for me to like drive all the way back home. By the time I come back home, I'll have like an
Yeah.
hour maybe, and then I turn around and go back. And I'm all about making the most of your time. So like what I figured out is I'll either like sign my daughter up for a class like for right now she's in gymnastics on Mondays, and we'll
Oh,
do that while
nice.
he's in school, or they have a childcare there which is amazing. So you know what I was
Hmm.
doing? I drop her off at so I drop him off at school, drop her off at the childcare, and they have like tables and chairs everywhere. So I bring my laptop, and that's when I get like my podcast editing done and all of my
Art.
admin
Yes.
work. Yeah.
You make
But like
every minute count.
exactly, and you
Hmm.
know all of this. Yeah. So, but yeah, like he's out of school. We literally like drive back home. It's time for lunch. And before we know it, like it's time to go pick up my daughter. And right now we're in the season of it's softball season.
Oh my gosh,
So,
we start T-ball. Yes, it was
oh,
raining here yesterday, so we couldn't have practice. But his first game is Friday. So T-ball is starting for like the next
oh,
4 weeks.
yeah. Okay, so ours started about a month ago.
Okay.
And it goes through June, but it's a lot. Like they have practice 3 nights a week, and then like this week is like
Oh my
HELL.
gosh.
I don't know if I can say swear, but so she literally has 3 games and then 2 practices this week. So
How old is she?
she's 7.
Oh my gosh. I'm only, yeah. And
Yeah,
he's only,
yeah,
how old did I say is 5? So a 2 year
yeah.
difference, and you're already at 3 practices a week. Holy
Yeah, it
cow.
could be, and it could be different depending on where you live.
Right,
Though
right.
it
But
might not be like
still.
that there. Yeah, so like literally I pick her up from school, we run home, get homework done, then I'm like getting dinner ready. We're eating dinner, and then it's time to go. And then when we come back, it's time to get ready for bed. And that's like my day.
Oh my
So yeah,
goodness.
but the real foundation of my day starts at 5 a.m. And actually on Mondays I got up at 4.
Oh, I
And
love it. Early bird. Yes, me too.
yeah, that's when I do all of my planning is on Mondays. I get up at
Mhm.
4. But other days I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm like jumping out of bed always. I don't hit the snooze button. I get up, I put on my workout clothes. I do
Mhm.
either like a Peloton workout or I run. And I haven't missed a day, I'm so proud to say, in over 2 years. Like haven't missed a day. Like it doesn't matter if I'm sick,
Amazing.
like the kids are sick. It's just something, and we're going to talk about habits later, but it's just something that I've done so many times that I can't like not do it. Like it doesn't matter if, like, for instance, a couple months ago, my kid, the freaking stomach flu came through my house, and
Ugh.
my poor kids were up, and us too, were up. It was like from like midnight to like, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, like every half an hour throwing
Mm.
up.
Hmm.
And it was like we were changing the sheets and like
Hmm.
scrubbing the carpet because there was like throw up
Yeah.
on the carpet. But like I still was like, I have to do this. Like it's just
Yep.
I don't want to break the chain.
You had those habits set, like you said, we'll talk about those habits set in place that
Right.
it's almost like your body just knows what it's going to next.
Right. And it's not about being perfect at all.
Yep.
It's about protecting my peace. Like that morning time is how I armor up for the day. Like seriously, that time before my kids get up is so crucial. And I highly recommend, like, if it's possible for you, and trust me, I understand in some seasons of life, you just can't do it. Like, for example, like I used to be a nurse. So if you're working midnight shift,
Mhm.
you're not doing that. You can't. Or like if you have a brand new baby, like and you're up all night with them, like it, there are some seasons of life where you can't. But if it's possible, wake up, get up, and do something for yourself before your kids wake up because it's like preparing yourself for battle. You never know. Like once the kids
Mhm.
get up, it's go time. Like
Oh gosh,
somebody,
yes.
it's the constant demands. It's the whining. It's the temper tantrums and like when you
Yep.
have more than
The
one
fighting
kid,
with each
the
other.
the fighting and just the power struggles and the messes that you have to clean up. And then you walk out your door and like you never know, like somebody could cut you off while you're driving or somebody might, say something
Right.
unkind to you. But when you do this for yourself at the beginning of your day, it just sets you up to be able to handle all that crap so much better. And it's just like you already set yourself up with a win. So that's what I do. I work out and I stretch
Mhm.
and then I pray in the morning. I
Mhm.
do some journaling and then I shower and I get my kids up and ready for the day. But even my work time, as you can see, is very limited, but I've learned to maximize it with intention. And that's actually what inspired my time management course that I created for moms,
Mhm.
because know what it feels like to feel like there's never enough time, especially when you're trying to be present with your kids and get things done. So my full time management
Right.
course, it's launching in the fall, but right now, if people are interested, I do have a free mini course and it's called the 5 Minute Reset. And it's available at TanyaValentineCoaching.com/reset. And I can provide Ashley with the link for show
Yep.
notes if you would like. But
Absolutely.
I created it not just for those days, that just feel chaotic and you feel like you just want to hit the reset button and get a fresh
Mhm.
start, but also to help you plan ahead and manage your mind so you can stay on top of everything that life throws at you. And it's just a short, encouraging video. You don't necessarily have to watch it. You can like listen to it
Perfect.
while you're doing dishes or doing laundry or
Yes.
driving.
Multitasking.
Exactly. And then it comes with printable guides that you print out and you can just take 5 minutes and it helps guide you to refocus, reset, and just feel more in control.
Perfect. I love that. That is so perfect. That brings me to another question. And it may just be me, may just be my stubborn brain, but when you are a new mom, even a new mom to your third, fourth, fifth, whatever, do you ever find that people like the scare factor? They're afraid to ask for help. Like I would, when I was new with Chase, I'm like, people always looked at me like, how are you balancing teaching? How are you balancing doing all of this? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. It was almost, but I wasn't. I had chaos inside of me, but I was afraid to actually
Mhm.
reach out and ask. So like your course would have been so perfect for me years ago, but I almost would have been afraid to ask. So how do you
Yeah.
guide people who are just like, I just can't click because I don't want to accept that I need help?
It's working on the belief in yourself
Mhm.
and that you are worth it and that it is okay to ask for help. Because the problem is we all are walking around with these limiting beliefs and a lot of them are unconscious and we believe that we have to do everything ourselves and we don't want to inconvenience people. We don't want to be a burden to people.
Mhm.
But I like to remind people though that people like to feel like their life has purpose and that they're needed and they're being helpful. So, and I feel like it's such an honor to have somebody ask you for help. It's like you're saying to that person, like, I believe that you are capable to help me.
Mhm.
So just kind of like switching your perspective a little on asking for help, like
That's
believing that
good.
you're worth it, and also believe, like, don't take that away from somebody else, that feeling of purpose, that, their life is valuable and that you honor them and that you value their capabilities, their wisdom, whatever, enough to
Mhm.
ask for help. Like you are trusting them um with whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
asking for help, you know?
It all goes back to what you hear. Just there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing wrong.
and then there's also the if you want something done, you have to do it yourself. Or if you want
Uh,
something done right, you have to do it yourself. That's the other thing.
right.
It's just like, you know what? Like get over that like needing to be perfect. Done
Perfect.
is better than perfect.
Yep. That's it. That's so true. Yep. And all, like I said, all stages of life, you always go through an experience and you're not going to be great at it. You learn and you ask people, I've seen that you've been through this. What am I missing? Why am I constantly feeling stressed out? Just
Yeah.
ask. That's
Yeah. I
perfect.
I love it when people ask me for advice. I'm like all about like I love it. I love to
Yeah.
be able to like, help people, and I love that they're coming to me and thinking that I can help. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes. Yes, exactly. Which is why
To
you're on
me,
here.
right. To me, it's an honor. Yes. Like tell me what and I'm really bad at like I'm always asking people like what can I do to help? Like I'm really bad at just like I think I overthink things too. Like I don't want to, offer too much. I don't want to be like overbearing, but like I want to let them know like, hey, I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
Um, you
It's
know.
that boundary where you're like, I
Right.
don't, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
that's a hard one. That is a hard one, but it's
Yeah, so
to
you're
me,
the
I feel like it's better to ask because
yeah.
than to just sit back. It's I feel I'm always better. Like if you got to pick one side, I'd rather pick the side where I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, and do the person a favor. Tell them what you need. When they
Yep,
ask you, there's your opportunity. Take it.
love it. I
Don't ever
love that.
deny help. If somebody is offering their help, take it. Take it.
Remember that, everybody.
Hmm.
All right. So I want to go to probably one of my favorite ones. But let's talk about breaking bad habits and building better ones. Do you have kind of a layout, kind of just a blueprint for our listeners with this? Because I'm all about, breaking bad habits. That was my goal this year when it came to sleep. I get about 7 to 8 hours every single night. I broke that habit of getting less. So, I've got my own system that I can share at some point, but I want to hear it from you as a kind of a layout for people to kind of get thinking about breaking bad habits, building better ones.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics as well. So breaking bad habits or building new ones. It's really about becoming a different version of yourself. It's truly identity work. Instead of just trying to change what you do, you focus on who you are becoming. And let me give you an example of this. So imagine there are two people who are former smokers, and one is or they're both offered a cigarette, and one says, "No, thanks, I'm trying to quit," while the other one says, "No, thanks, I'm not a smoker." Who do you think is more likely to turn it down? It's the one who says, "I'm not a smoker," because it's
Mhm.
no longer a part of their identity. There's no inner negotiation. There's no need to dip into willpower reserves. The option is simply off the table. And that's the key. When you become the kind of person who does not engage in that habit anymore or does consistently follow a new one, you narrow the choices available to you and you eliminate that exhausting back and forth, that inner talk like, you've had a hard day, you deserve this, just this once won't hurt, it loses its power on you. So here's the blueprint. One, you start with clarity. So answer these two questions. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what is the outcome I want to achieve and why? And then the second question is, who is the type of person who achieves this outcome? And I really encourage you to write this down. So if you're driving or multitasking, just make a note to come back to this because there is something truly powerful about taking what's in your brain and getting it out and putting it onto paper. And it just makes the vision real. And I don't know about you, but it makes anything I want to remember, I have to write it down.
Oh my gosh. I have a post-it app on my phone, and if someone tells me something or I think about something, I
That
get
go,
that post-it app out and I start typing away. Yep.
Yeah, I don't have the post app, but I have my notes. But then
Mhm.
I literally have to write it down. Like this morning, I had like a list of things I had to just quickly write it down. Or like in the morning, if there's something I have to remember to do for my daughter before school, like if I make a
Yeah.
lunch for her, like remember to put the lunch in the backpack, and I have to write a note and like put it on
No,
my
for sure.
kitchen counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We forgot the lunch last week for my son.
Oh,
Thankfully, the school's 5 minutes away. My husband called and he's like, I forgot his
oh,
lunch. I'm on my way
oh,
back
it
home. So, yeah,
happened.
anything like this, simplest things, just write it down for sure.
Yes, absolutely. But for me, so I personally faced this when I was pregnant with my third child. I was enrolled in coach certification and I was still working in the hospital as a nurse. And
Oh, boy.
I had to ask myself, what kind of a person would thrive in this season? And my answer was somebody who plans. So I became a planner. And that identity shift helped me align my daily habits with the outcome that I needed. So so the first thing was start with clarity, answer those two questions. What is the outcome that I want to achieve and why? And second, who is the kind of person that achieves that outcome? Second, you're going to work with your brain's natural wiring. So human behavior is driven by three things. The desire to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. So knowing that we can design our habits to work with us, not against us. And listen, James Clear explains this brilliantly in his book Atomic Habits. And
Yes, I've read that.
yeah,
Mhm.
everything, like mostly everything that I learned about habit formation and what I'm going to talk about today came from him. So, but yeah, so in that book, I highly recommend it. If you've already read it, this is going to be a little review, but he breaks it down. He breaks habit formation down into a four-part loop. So there's the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So it starts with the cue. The cue is just that thing that gets your attention. And then comes the craving, and that's just the urge that you get to do something. Then is the response, and that's your reaction. And then the reward is just the feeling you achieve after performing that action. So, for example, the cue could be like a plate of cookies on the table. And then the craving could be just like your desire to eat the cookies. And then the response would be eating the cookies. And the reward would be the feeling of pleasure that you get when you eat the cookie.
Mhm.
So, to form a good habit, he says, you make the cue obvious, you make the craving attractive, you make the response easy, and then the reward satisfying. And then conversely, you just invert those rules if you're trying to break a bad habit. So you make the cue invisible, the craving unattractive, the response easy, and then the reward unsatisfying. So let's say you want to start a habit of working out in the morning, for example.
Mhm.
Your cue could be just choosing a specific time and place that you're going to work out and you put it on the calendar. You Ambiguity kills habits. So
Mhm.
you should be able to answer when you work out with confidence. Then the craving, you want to make it rewarding or fun. So it could be a playlist that you love, or taking a class with friends, or just tapping into that post-workout endorphin rush.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
or even pairing it with something you enjoy, like watching your favorite show while you're on the treadmill. Next is the response. So you want to make it as easy as possible. So lay your clothes out the night before, have your water, shoes, and any equipment ready. You want to remove any friction. And then lastly is a reward. Celebrate. That
Mhm.
could be a proud
Mhm.
check mark or X on a
Yep.
habit tracker.
Doesn't have to be huge, just a
No,
reward.
just
Hmm.
your brain needs that reward to
Yep.
say this is I like do this again. Um, but yeah, so it could just be a proud check mark on a habit tracker or just pausing to feel how accomplished and strong you are after a workout and thank your body for what it is able to
Right.
do. And then the more you repeat a behavior, the more evidence that you are creating for your new identity. And that's how habits stick. You're creating new neural pathways in your brain. Think of it like creating a path through a dense forest. So
Mhm.
the first time you're walking through, you're pushing past like thick brush and you're stepping over
Mhm.
branches and it's
Mhm.
hard to see your way out, but each time you go through that same route, the brush clears a little, the ground
Yep.
flattens, and eventually, like what was once a struggle becomes a well-worn trail. And your brain works the same way. Every time you repeat a habit, you
Yep.
are strengthening that neural pathway. And over time, it becomes easier, more automatic, and like second nature. And then lastly, you want to start small. And this is
Yep.
huge,
Hmm.
starting small. Like work with your brain, not against it. I can't stress that enough. Your brain is wired for survival. It likes to be efficient, it likes to conserve energy, and it naturally prefers to take the path of least resistance. So when it comes time to follow through on a new habit, don't be surprised if you don't feel like doing it. Like that is completely
That is so
normal.
true.
Yeah. But the
So
key is
true.
making it as easy as
Yes.
possible for you to get started. You
Yep.
don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just take one small step. And I love what James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. He says,
Mhm.
time multiplies whatever you feed it. So good habits are going to make time your
Mhm.
ally, and
Mhm.
bad habits make time your enemy. So what he means is the small actions you take each day, no matter how insignificant they may seem, they compound over time. But we're so conditioned for instant gratification these days
Right.
that we often, it seems like we need to take this massive action that's unsustainable in order for us to see results quickly. Um, it's easy to dismiss the small changes as a waste of our time, but they're actually the most powerful way to build long-term habits. Those small steps carve these new neural pathways in our brain. And then once those pathways are established, it becomes
Mhm.
easier to build onto them. So start small, get consistent, and get fancy later. Going
Ooh.
from 0 to
Ooh.
60, it might feel productive in the
Yep.
moment, but it's not sustainable. The goal is to make your desired habits feel automatic. And
Yep.
then if you're trying to break a bad habit, the first step is just bringing awareness to it. You can't change what you don't notice, so you work on making the unconscious conscious. And then I just have a couple of
That's good.
practical tools. Um, Try habit stacking. So that's just
Yes.
attaching a new habit to an existing one. And like an example that I have, so I used to do a load of laundry, like towels. And then the next time I'd go to the bathroom, I'd wash my hands and my hands would be wet because I forgot to replace the towels. So I was like, I need to create a habit stack for this. So now my existing habit was putting the dirty towels in the washer. And then I added a new habit, which was anytime I throw the dirty towels in the washer, I will immediately after that replace all the towels in the bathroom.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. I get that though. Yeah. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think we've all done it, but yeah, so problem solved. And then another thing is just creating simple rules for yourself. Like, for example, like I don't snack in between meals or I don't